Greetings fellow girls, guys and gaming fans, this is Small Archangel. Welcome once again to my creative zone. It's a beautiful morning here in the apocalypse on day 133. This is not strictly my creative zone, that is to say, anyone who's seen my creative zone builds will know that some of them are entirely creative in a world with no zombies. If that were the case here, I would hardly need the crossbow. As it is, this is one of my saves, one of my off-camera game saves, in which I have just finished a base which I would like to showcase, and that's the other kind of creative build that I tend to show. It's not strictly creative, but if I make a base and I'm quite pleased with it, I tend to do a little bit of a showcase video on it, and this is one such. So it's day 133. Obviously I've been playing this game for a little while, and anybody who's watched my Let's Play series in the past will know that I'm very fond of my subterranean bases, and I have one here as well. There's not many zeds in the area at the moment because I've killed them all. So in spite of the fact that it's day 133, I only just learned the recipe for the crossbow as well, so that's still very difficult to find in RNG. Okay, so there's something a little bit different about this build. It's what I've been wanting to try for really quite a long time, but it had to wait for Alpha 14, and I wasn't convinced that it was going to work. But it sort of does work quite well, actually. It's not the best design I've ever come across, come up with, but it's not half bad, and it's quite good eye candy as well. So basically, I've got the top up here. I've just finished recently upgrading it all to steel, just to make sure that the zeds didn't do any harm up here. To be honest, I'm not sure this wasn't a bit of a waste of resources with the steel, because I don't think they really actually do very much damage. The only time I've really noticed any damage to the steel up here, and that could be because it's steel, is when I've been fighting a horde out up top and a cop has spat. Mostly they don't really bother. They know that I'm down there because I fight the hordes and I fight the zombies from the floor right there underneath where you can see. And so they tend to be sort of, you know, where I am now, right above me, and I can shoot them fairly easily. The only thing is I tend not to be able to shoot them in the head very easily for reasons that are obvious. I tend to shoot them in the feet, which is massively effective. So, as I say, not the best design I've ever come up with in the world. And once I did have a zombie glitch through here. There's a little tiny gap there, but, you know, even the undead aren't that skinny, so I'm not quite sure how that happened, but he did glitch through there, so that wasn't brilliant either. So in retrospect, I might have chosen to put sort of just square blocks here rather than having the ramps. So there you go. That is basically the design I'd wanted to try out for ages, was having kind of a big pit and then having iron bars so that I could aim straight upwards when the horde came. Obviously, I've had to replace the terracotta kind of roof tiny bit there a few times as well, because once spitters get going, they trash that pretty easily, in point of fact. It's not the most robust stuff that you've ever laid eyes on. Now I chose, as I often do in fact, to make my base right on the outskirts of a POI, so you can see exactly where we are here, the POI, and we've got lovely level ground there basically. So where the towns spawn in, you get really flat level ground, which is perfect for farming. You can see my tree farm and my actual farm over there, and also for laying down any kind of base, particularly above ground bases. But even, you know, for doing this, really I wanted it to be completely level, because if it's not completely level, you end up with zombies doing that. I mean, they even now manage to do a little bit of that, but not ever so much, thankfully. So let's go take a look at the base from the underneath. The farms are nothing particularly, no great shakes. They're just basically a tree farm and a normal farm. I've got, as usual, my entrance quite a few blocks away from the base itself. And that is because I've got my drop box there as well. That's because basically we want our entrance to be far enough away that come morning, come horde time, they've all spawned over there, they're all over there. We can come up here without getting our heads punched in when we're emerging from our hatchway, and without getting our hatchway punched in as well. So I've made good use of vault doors here. I've been making a lot of steel and what have you, and I've got my usual long concrete corridor with candles lighting it on both sides. I prefer this design for lighting because anything using torches is just too bright, frankly. And spotlights, you only use those outside, really. And here we are with the courtyard. I saw that from above. Here it is down here. So I've built it for aesthetics as well. I've obviously made use of these thinner pillars that we can make now as well, which I really quite like. Again, I do find myself having to repair the... Oh, look, there's a bit I missed. Repair the pavers quite often because, yeah, it's very, very easy for those to get destroyed, obviously. I also have to go up top fairly often, especially after a horde, and make sure that I repair up the bars as well because they're not the strongest things. I suppose we could put sort of concrete quarter blocks across the top of there or something, especially if we had square blocks all the way around, full square blocks all the way around, but we wouldn't be able to see quite so well, and it wouldn't let so much light down either. I like it as a light well too, so I did do another version of this which is slightly more robust, which actually has a central kind of the walls here rather than the pillars as well, so you've got extra protection for the base. We've got, this is my well, but I tend not to take water from there because if you do, weird stuff happens. Basically end up with a big hole in the water, which is kind of bizarre and annoying. So here we can walk around on top of the roof, which means we've got a higher sniper platform for sort of firing at zeds, whether it's, you know, one or two zeds or whether it's an entire horde. Also means we can kind of try and kite them around. I'd also considered putting spikes up the top there, but actually the zombies are more likely to aggro downwards if you do that, so that's why I haven't bothered. So that's up here. We can also we can safely jump down there without hurting ourselves too, but okay. And then I've made good use of the large metal letters that we have. We still need small signs in this game, and I'm hoping that we'll have something like that in Alpha 15 for putting above our chests to say, oh, we've got the tools in this one or whatever. And it for big bases, for signage, yeah. But these letters are really massive. But nonetheless, given it's quite samey around here, I thought it might be quite useful for me to know which side was my forge and which side was my kitchen. So we'll check out my forge first. I've got vault doors everywhere, and you can see in here I've got a couple of gun safes. I've basically got, again, this is a kind of design that I sort of favour. I've got a pillar in the middle just to make sure this room isn't absolutely massive, but just to make sure it doesn't cave in. And then I've got my stuff organised in. I've got a lot of building stuff because I've got quite a lot of stone. Where's my stone storage? There's some of it anyway. Oh, there's some more. And there's some more. Obviously, with digging all this out, I ended up with shed loads of stone. I've got 3 forges in here, and of course my workbench and my concrete mixer. And then my guns and ammo either side as well. So this room's dedicated basically to guns and ammo and armory and building materials. And then directly opposite, I've got my kitchen, which isn't strictly a kitchen. It kind of is from a creating point of view. We've got all my health this side, we've got food on this side, I've got spare chests there which I haven't actually got anything in at the moment, and then I've got these. I sort of made the ducting to make it look more like they were some sort of cooking thing with a vent, and I've got the ones on this side for cooking food, and I've got the ones on this side for making chemicals, you know, kind of biofuel and drinks and things, really. Hence the beakers. And I've got sort of varying setups there, so I can make medication there. Not that I've found a mountain man antibiotic recipe yet, because I haven't, unfortunately. And then I've got my living quarters directly opposite the well there. And we can see we've got actual windows here. Now we can make glass in the game. I thought, heck, I'm going to do just that. I put bars across it so that the zombies couldn't, simply punch out the glass and then just walk in. I have to be careful what I'm doing with my own fire, because obviously my own firepower can go straight through those windows. But so far, I haven't had to replace any of that glass. I've actually used the glass blocks rather than the single sheet. It doesn't make any difference to durability, I don't think, but I just kind of prefer the look of it. It looks like thicker glass. It looks, from an immersion point of view, looks a bit more secure. Okay, it's kind of dark down here during the night, but during the day it looks pretty nice actually. I've got loads of candles. I still need my mining helmet on during the night to see, but I've got a little breakfast bar set up here. Obviously I've got a ton of cabinets. They're all empty because all my food, funnily enough, so far has been going into the kitchens, so I haven't put anything in here. But I do like to make my base look kind of homey. It's always the last bit I make this, with the sofas and all of that kind of thing, because it's relatively expensive on resources. But the adobe blocks, again, we can make adobe now in these two different colours. I'm not sure if we can still make the tan, but certainly I like the peach and the white. Here I've actually used, because I didn't want these to be 3 full blocks thick, I've actually used the plates of adobe to decorate this wall, so that it's not reinforced concrete. You can see on the inside and the windows there, it's reinforced concrete, which ain't so pretty, but you can imagine why I wanted that, just in case any zombies come through here. As I say, I've had one come through, but that's because he glitched through. If there was enough of a horde, I imagine they might manage to break through anyway. Got my little desk area here. There's a safe there, and then the fire, which is quite cool, which I don't think I've put any fuel in at the moment, so might as well do that. I haven't actually designated much fuel to this because it's just for looks, really. I could cook stuff in it. Look, I've got a cooking pot. I could if I wanted to, but mostly, as I say, I do that in my kitchens. But there we go, just for the ambiance. There's the fire, and I wanted to go for something kind of modern looking as well, so I experimented again, used the glass blocks and some sort of bits of adobe for a modern looking fireplace. I'm quite pleased with that. I think it looks quite cool, really. And then we went further underground for the bedroom, and obviously it's the spawning point, so if you've got a zombie, incursion of zombies into the base, really the last thing you need is for them to be able to get easily to your spawn point. And I have considered making an emergency exit as well. I basically made the stairs go all the way down in a kind of U-shape. It took ages, but I don't know if a thing's worth doing. We've got a little hallway down here, and I did this kind of deliberate because I wasn't quite sure if I was going to make a doorway going off in either direction for sort of more rooms, but you can see where we are. We're sort of outside of there now, so I make sure whenever there's a horde I'm here, so they're not kind of tempted to dig into the hillside, because I do hate that. We've got the bathroom in here with a nice sunken bath. Now you have to be a bit careful when you're making sunken baths, because I found in another of my builds that I actually couldn't get out of it, so that wasn't overly clever. I wish we could make the medicine cabinets to put one in there as well. That would be really cool if we could. And I gave it it's a little bit of a Roman bath feel in here, quite deliberately. Again, using the adobe, the 2 different colours of adobe, and a bit of a vaulted ceiling. And I did that in a bedroom as well. Another thing, I wish we could make some doors that don't look crappy. I didn't really want vault doors down here. I really want, just like the normal house doors, but you cannot craft those, so I haven't got them. And in here again, a slightly bigger room this time, but we have, again, the vaulted ceiling, the 2 colours of adobe. I've got a chair in here, I've got bits of decor and things. And then I've got mostly empty cabinets where I put clothing and armour items. So I've got some old armour in there that I made before I could craft decent stuff I'm wearing now. And it's quite nice looking, really. I wasn't sure. I quite like the idea of I've done this in the kitchen as well, putting candles actually above the cabinet tops, which means that you can't really see them. They just have a nice glow up above the yeah, up by the ceiling. So so there we go. So I like to I sort of list this in my creative builds because it kind of is. I like to sort of subvert the norm as much as it's actually possible to do in this game, and make myself some relatively luxury accommodation, in spite of the fact that obviously this is still the zombie apocalypse and you still need to survive in it. You still need to ensure that whatever you build is defensible, but I quite like to make things, if I can, defensible and aesthetic and good looking at the same time. I've been doing that since Alpha 9, I think. I've been trying to do that, and I've had various successes and not so successful. As I say, this one's pretty good actually. It's not bad when the old hordes hit, but at this point tonight should be a horde night. But in my experience at this point in the game, the hordes are still glitch-tastic. They still sort of sometimes show up, sometimes they don't bother. Sometimes two show up in a row and kind of just whenever they feel like, in the middle of the day, and I'll just be out in the middle of nowhere doing something and minding my own business, and a horde turns up with cops and dogs and a lot, and ferals if I'm really lucky. So yeah, it's a bit random. So horde testing the bunker at this point, the base at this point, not so easy to do. So yeah, I hope you like this base. I'm quite liking it. I think it's very pretty, but I have built better ones from a point of view of defense. But so far, fingers crossed, touch wood, I haven't had zombies raining in on my head. As I say, the other build mode, the other version I built had along this concrete line here. Basically, this was the fighting floor here, but along there was an extra kind of wall of concrete pillars that don't allow the zombies to pass through, but do allow you to shoot from this side of them. And I had kind of a hatchway to get to it, so you go down the hatchway and out of the hatchway in this corner through a small tunnel to get onto this side of the wall. And the zombies, really, they're not that bright. If you're here, if you're down below, they might be bright enough to bash the hatchway, but if you're fighting at the same level as them, they pay no attention to it by and large. So very little repairs to do there. And yeah, then you can sort of shoot them through here, and then if they come through there, then you've got a fallback position, which works quite well as well. So I've played that version of the base even more than I've played this one, because it just seemed a little bit more practical and safe as we get to the bigger hordes. But as I say, I've only just finished this base really in both versions, and I haven't really had the opportunity to do a proper horde test, because they just don't show up when you expect them to show up. So if one shows up tonight, I might be tagging a horde test onto the end of this video, but if there isn't a horde test on the end of the video, you'll know why. It's because the beggars have elected not to bother coming out to party. And I'll probably end up fighting them in the fields tomorrow morning or midday or whenever they feel like turning up. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you like this base. If you do, yeah, hit the like button. Give me any comments if you've got any tips, or let me know your sort of best base builds as well, because I always like to hear what other things people have come up with. It's fab, this game, from that point of view. Nicely creative. And strategic as well. So if you've managed to make a base that's yeah, practical and aesthetic, yeah, I probably want to know about it. Okay, cool. So if you liked the video, hit the like button. See what else I've got on my channel. If this is the first of my videos that you've seen, check out the rest of my creative zone. There's all sorts of stuff in there, from the purely creative and fanciful and totally indefensible to things more like this, and I will add more as time goes by. So till the next video guys, keep gaming, keep surviving, stay happy, bye bye for now.